Hello art friends and welcome to the channel. My name is Fleshwad. Today I have 3 creepypasta stories for you that all revolve around those we call mothers. Whether you are a mother or a child, these stories are sure to creep you out. Make sure to watch this video in the dark or with the lights off and your headphones on for the best viewing experience. Our first creepypasta is sure to keep you weary of strange hitchhikers. It is titled A Mother's Love. One afternoon, a couple was traveling by car when at a far distance they saw a woman in the middle of the road waving frantically. The wife told her husband to keep on driving because it might be too dangerous. But the husband decided to pass by slowly so he wouldn't stay with a doubt on his mind of what might have happened and the chances of anyone being hurt. As they got closer, they noticed a woman with cuts and bruises on her face, as well as on her arms. They then decided to stop and see if they could be of any help. The cut and bruised woman was begging for help, telling them that she had been in a car accident and that her husband and son, a newborn baby, were still inside the car, which was deep in a ditch. She told them that the husband was already dead, but that her baby seemed to still be alive. The husband that was traveling decided to get down and try to rescue the baby, and he asked the hurt woman to stay with his wife inside of their car. When he got down, he noticed 2 people in the front seats of the car, but he didn't pay any importance to them, and took out the baby quickly and got up to take the baby to its mother. When he got up, he didn't see the mother anywhere, so he asked his wife where she had gone. She told him that the woman followed him back to the crashed car. When the husband went back to look for her, he noticed that clearly the couple in the front seats were dead, one of whom was unmistakably the woman who flagged them down. Our second creepypasta is titled Mommy Dearest. As Julie began to regain consciousness, she knew something wasn't right. She started to panic as she realized she was strapped to a table. A big bright light beamed down onto her face, blinding her, as silhouettes moved silently around her. The silhouettes began to whisper, "She's perfect, Daddy, thank you." Julie tried to scream, but the gag in her mouth muffled her cries. Julie heard a little girl giggle as something began to brush her hair. She then heard another giggle in the corner in front of her. Only 2 hours before, Julie was responding to an ad on Craigslist looking for a live-in nanny, and the last thing she remembered was ringing the doorbell. As the whispers continued, the lights switched off, leaving Julie with blind spots that covered the face of what appeared to be a man peering down at her. As the blind spots began to disappear and her eyes readjusted, she was greeted by a frail old man with a toothless grin, and behind him sat 2 dolls. They were life-size dolls and beautifully dressed. "I want to introduce you to my little girls. On the right is Masha, and on the left is Dasha," said the man, rasped. "Say hello to your new mommy, girls." "Hi, Julie," giggled the 2 dolls. She couldn't help but notice that even though the sound appeared to come from the dolls, they didn't move. "My girls need a mommy," said the old man as he moved over behind the dolls, rubbing their hair as he stared at Julie. The old man moved clumsily over to the table Julie was strapped to and removed the gag from her mouth. "Please don't scream, it will scare the girls," he said. Julie knew if there was a chance someone could hear her, she had to take it. Julie began screaming at the top of her lungs. "Make her stop, Daddy," sounded a voice coming from the doll's vicinity. As Julie screamed for her life, the old man began raining blows down upon her head. For a frail old man, he really is strong, she thought as the blows kept on coming. He only stopped once Julie began to lose consciousness. As she faded in and out, her captor left the room, leaving her alone with the two dolls sitting across from her. As Julie lay there, she imagined how she might escape the clutches of the crazy old man and his creepy dolls. As she frantically tried to free herself from the straps, she suddenly heard a noise behind her. Julie's eyes darted to the chair where the dolls were sitting. They were gone. Then she heard a patter of tiny footsteps just behind her. "You're a bad mommy," giggled a voice from behind. Julie was stunned by fear. For a moment, she felt the porcelain hand of one of the dolls stroking her face. The feeling was soon replaced by that of a cold, hard steel blade slipping in just beneath her chin. Night-night, mommy. Sleep tight. Our third and final creepypasta for this video is titled Mommy Sleeps in the Basement. Just a heads up, this story does have two people talking at the same time. The main author is kind of speaking inside of her head while there's a little girl who's reading a poem out loud. So when I am the teacher, I will put a sign that says teacher up so you don't get confused. And when I'm the little girl, I will put a sign that says little girl up in the corner or something so you don't get confused. Okay. Speak louder, please. I put my hand up next to my ear from the back of the room, signaling that she would need to raise her voice. She took a deep breath. I could see anxiety turning her cheeks beet red as strands of blonde hair began to fall out of the same nappy ponytail she wore every day. There was something about her so familiar, but I just couldn't put my finger on it. With her face glued to the paper, too afraid to make eye contact, she quickly sputtered out, "Hi, my name is Paisley Jackson, and this is my poem called My Family." Paisley was a shy little girl. In fact, she was one of the quietest students I ever had in my 10 years of teaching, which I guess being the youngest of 11 will do that to anyone. Surprisingly, she was very smart, unlike the rest of her siblings who were dumber than a box of rocks. Lord, the Jackson kids were such a headache, except for Paisley, of course. I just wish I could have given her more opportunities to improve her future. Don't get me wrong, I tried to help Paisley, I really did. I gave her clothes, food, and even had funds lined up for her. But living dirt poor in a shack out in the middle of the desert was a bad hand to be dealt in life. Besides, no matter what I did, it wouldn't have made a difference. Everyone knows that the cycle of poverty is almost impossible to break. I crossed my legs, pen in hand, preparing for yet another bland story about a family I'd never get to meet. If you've ever worked with underprivileged kids, you know that a guardian involvement is quite rare. When it came to interest in their daughter's education, Paisley's parents were no exception. I have two mommies, one named Betty, who can make good spaghetti. I call her Mom. She's the one that's married to my dad, Tom. One named Claire with pretty yellow hair. I call her Mommy. Dad calls her his project, his hobby. Being smack dab in the middle of Utah, I've seen hundreds of polygamous families, so this didn't strike me as odd. Besides, even though polygamy is illegal, I try to keep my nose in my own business. Mom takes care of us all. She can do that because she's so tall. Mommy wears a pretty silver bracelet. She wears it because she's so famous. Wouldn't be the first time I saw kids coming up with stories about celebrity parents to add excitement to their ordinary lives. I just didn't expect it to come from Paisley. Mommy has me and Tommy. He's one of my older brothers. Mom is a lot older. She has all the others. I cringed. That meant one of Paisley's mothers had given birth to 9 children. I couldn't imagine going through that many pregnancies. Dad says me and Tommy are a gift from God. He'll never hurt us with a rod. His pride enjoys Tommy, but he says the only person he truly loves is Mommy. I looked up from my grade book, with a line about a rod catching my attention. However, this wasn't the first time one of my students have accidentally reported abuse. Truth is, CPS picks and chooses who they want to help. Mom is having another baby. She's mad Dad wants to name it Daisy. Mommy can't have no more kids. Her last one died of SIDS. Shifting in my seat, I scribbled down a note reminding myself to deliver my daughter's old baby clothes to the Jackson shack. As a mother myself, I know babies can be expensive. Dad says she did it on purpose because she wanted to run off and join the circus. Mom says it wasn't her fault. I promised to keep that secret in the me and her vault. I shook my head in sadness. How could someone blame a grieving mother for something she couldn't control? Mommy was the one Dad chose. He watched all of her school shows. They were joined in the night. Daddy says inside her is a lot of fight. Mom is just a cover. Dad doesn't really love her. I threw my hand up, a gesture meaning stop I had taught my students, but Paisley didn't look up. She continued to read, oblivious to my disappointed frown. Obviously, one of her siblings put her up to this as a joke. Mommy says she needs to get out. She wants to show me what life is all about. Dad gets mad. It's his biggest pet peeve. Mommy is sad. She just wants to leave. Mommy sings to me her favorite song. Mom says Dad's head is wired wrong. Shaking my head, I sighed. Another child with so much potential and such a kind heart, who was stuck in the middle of a lover's quarrel that didn't even involve her. Last birthday, I wanted to take Mommy to see her favorite basketball team. Mom made a cake with frosted buttercream. I got to go see the Knicks, but Dad said he made a mistake he couldn't fix. Nothing is the same anymore. I don't know why for sure. Now Dad cries at night alone. He asks God, what have I done? To Mom he no longer tends. She hopes the baby will make amends. Paisley rose her head up with a smile, looking for my approval. Although I was appalled at the inappropriateness of her poem, I didn't want to break her spirits. She was clearly very proud of it, and scolding her for something that wasn't her wrongdoing was just going to send that little girl back into her shell that I'd been trying to break for months. So instead, I clapped, making the rest of the class, who were too young to understand the gravity of the situation, applaud too. Miss June, I brought a picture of my mommy for extra credit. It's got one more part of the poem. Can I show the class? I nodded my head, thinking there couldn't possibly be any details worse than what she had already presented. Paisley reached into the front pocket of her old and worn-out hand-me-down dress, pulling out an old, aging photo. She flipped the flaking picture around, displaying it as if it were her most prized possession. My blood ran cold. I finally figured out why Paisley looked so familiar to me. In what seemed to be a school photograph, smiling ear to ear, exactly like Paisley, was a young woman by the name of Claire Daisy. She was a high school student, popular for her ability to gain the lead in every school play. She went missing without a trace 12 years prior. She was last seen leaving theater practice late one night, but then she just vanished. No sign of a struggle, no witnesses, no evidence, no body, nothing. Her case was covered on every news station in Utah for a while because of how peculiar it was, until people lost interest. Paisley happily continued. I was so in shock I couldn't stop her as she read off the back of the picture. There's one thing I don't understand, and maybe you'll have the answer at hand. If Dad's love for Mommy will never sway, Why did he treat her that way? Mom lays her head on a nice soft bed, but Mommy sleeps in the basement under a big slab of cement. And that is the end of that creepypasta. All of these creepypastas were, in my opinion, very creepy. I love this last one. I love poetry and I love creepypastas involving poetry. Please go visit all the links in my description. I'll have each story linked separately in the order that I read them, and read it for yourself if you'd like. It is a little confusing probably hearing me read it, but it is definitely 10 out of 10 pasta. So did any of those creepypastas spook you? Let me know in the comments down below. To explain a bit of the drawing, I guess, I really wanted to come up with an idea that could easily suit at least 2 of the stories. I decided to draw 2 girls, seeing as we come across 2 girl dolls in our second story. So I wanted to pose the girls as almost limp, but still alive enough to be the 2 moms in our third story. And I made one of the girls more dirty and worn out than the other because one of the moms is not living in the best situation, or both are not really living in the best situation, but I feel like one is doing a little bit better probably. And I really wanted to give the drawing a vintage feel, so I went with vintage colors and styles of clothing / hair. If you like the drawing and or readings in this video, please make sure to give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't. I promise more videos are on the way. Hope all who listen have a very happy Mother's Day. Just remember to be careful out there. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next video, bye!